So I'm writing an article about why we should show our work and why we should be clear about what we're doing when we're using AI. That there's nothing wrong with saying, oh yeah, AI is part of this, but that what we want to do is highlight exactly how much work goes into using AI correctly. Because people tend to think, oh, you just write a little, here, write an article for me on this, and then AI does it all. And you're like, no, that's not what's happening. So you'll see here that even here, when I'm describing the article that I'd like to write, that I've written 4 paragraphs to just get my idea across. This is not just a one sentence thing. And what I'm saying is, hey, here's this memory that we go back to anchor this idea, the memory of when I was in math class as a kid and the teacher say, show your work. So show your work is the theme running through this. And then I'm like, here's how it applies to AI today. And then instead of hiding it, the contrarian position, instead of hiding AI, highlight it, but highlight how much work you've put in to make it right. So I got 40 different frameworks and I got 4 guidelines, and I got 2 verifications. And I've put together scoring algorithms against all these things so that you can pick the right one. So AI may be doing that, but it's doing it on my instruction. And so there's more than 10,000 words of guidance that are in all those frameworks that you're about to watch happen right now. And so I'm going to hit, and I've built this viewer so that you can see it in action, right? So I'm going to hit that button. What I have done is I have given that information to AI. And in this case, I'm running Claude in the background through an API call. And in the anchor section, if I come to the anchor stage and I go to this framework, I have all of these different frameworks put together. Hey, when you write an article, only use one audience for the whole article, right? Don't bounce around. Maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. For each article, let's talk about the segment, right? And we have micro segments, and every micro segment has a goal pyramid. And sorry, it jumped forward, but let me come back here for a second. So when we're talking about their goal pyramid, we're saying every one of these micro segments, they're part of what they're dealing with is what do they care about most, right? What are their goals? And so let's define that. And once we define it, we can pick one, we can score them all, and then we can pick what are their goals. And then how do we lock that in so that we can say, okay, we're going to write content, what level of this goal pyramid and what level of the pain pyramid that are connected to that, what are we doing that, right? And so we can have the micro segment, the goal, the pain, the struggling, right? All of that gets locked in, and then we move to ideas. And when we move to the ideas, oh, guess what? There are all these additional ways to look at insights. How do we find an insight? Do we find it by going deep in a particular industry? Do we go to a different industry and translate to an industry, right? Do we acknowledge from our own world a mistake that we're trying to now mitigate through? Or are we walking through something we learned over the course of what happened yesterday, a day in the life, right? So you have all these different ways to find the insight, and then it's going to look through it, and then it's going to score them and make a decision. Here's what I think we ought to do. And when it's done, it's going to create something that we can pass to all the frameworks around hooks. This is the title, and this is the intro paragraph. And when you're doing that, what you're really trying to do is say, hey, what are the neurological dynamics that open loops and spark curiosity and all that, and here are all the different ways to think about it. But again, all of these are pre-written. These are things that I have said, here's how I like to think about things. And then the AI is evaluating what we've done before into the hook section and looking at all these options and then choosing the one that it thinks is right, which also, as it does that, it's evaluating and then it can explain to me. And I can even look back and go, hey, I see why you did that, but you're saying here's why this one wins, but I want to change that. But let's assume that it's right. It's doing all the work I want it to do, that I've asked to do. And then it goes into the architecture. And in the architecture, we have structure, right? So what are we trying to do what kind of structure for the post are we trying to do? But then on top of that, let's go back to this here. In messaging, right? What are the different ways we want to do messaging? And then in story, right? So if you know me, you know how important story is. And so all of this, right, is how are we writing? And by the time we get to architecture, we're going to talk about the structure of the post, right? The outline and the what part is what, and it's going to do all that and hand it to the draft. When we have that brief to the draft has psychological triggers, again, story mechanics, and flags. What to watch out for. I don't want you doing these things that AI tends to do. And so it has it all there. And it's going to craft this and give me the first version of this. And when it does that, right, it goes, okay, here's the draft, which I can read through, right? And say, right, this is absolutely what I believe to be true, which is orchestration is what I'm doing now. These days, I'm orchestrating an AI to run through my process, but it's saying, hey, this is the work that it took from my concepts and my frameworks. It's writing the article, and I go, okay, but where do we put me back into it? This is the human in the loop. It stops here, and it goes, okay, so now I'm gonna write, right? I'm telling him a story from the past, right? I shouldn't say framework, I should say pipeline, right? So I'm just saying I use 7-stage pipeline for content creation. So not a big story, but it is me, it is my opinion. And now what's going to happen is it's going to go, okay, let's pull that in with everything else that was there. Then it's going to run through the final AI red flags. There are certain phrases that I can't stand. There are additional red flags that are rules to look for. There's also how to write and then the authenticity test, which is to check my voice profile. And at the end, I get an article that I can download, and then you get to read and go, okay, I see how it all played out. And at no point was I hiding the process, but I put a lot of work into building the process to make it so. And I hope it makes sense, and I hope you like it.